right now on 5 on your side at 10.
First at 10, another tornado touches down in Missouri, this time in Jefferson County. In the last hour, viewers have sent in our first images of the storm and its aftermath. Thank you for joining us at 10. I'm Robert Townsend. The National Weather Service tells us they have received multiple reports of damage all around the area. 5 on your side's Megan Kernan is there now with a first-hand look at the tornado's impact. But first, let's get right over to meteorologist Gary Frank, who's been tracking this system all afternoon. Gary.
Yeah, good evening, Robert. We talked about it at 5 and 6 o'clock specifically. We were following these storms in central Missouri. There was no watch. There were really only one severe thunderstorm warning, but we talked about just some of the characteristics that we looked at and the environment they were. Not favorable once again, but like that tornado the other day in Chesterfield, all of a sudden you start to see some of these storms rotating, and then within minutes, a tornado develops. So I wanted to show you what this looked like throughout the last 6 hours. From Jeff City all the way moving to the south across 44, it was that one lone area of storms. And now we'll zoom in on it. I want to loop this a little bit more. Watch this from Rich Woods into DeSoto. You can start to see these storms develop right after about 6:30, 7 o'clock. You'll see this right about 6:30. Watch these storms get on the end and start to rotate a little bit. And for about 15 to 20 minutes, we had that tornado on the ground. And you'll see this here specifically as I switch the wind products here. You'll see that from watch that red just right about there, and I'll let that loop again from Rich Woods, in between Rich Woods and Fletcher, that worked its way south of 21. I'll let that loop once again. You can really see where that is. Watch that just right there's that area. That's where we had the tornado. And then also, not all the time did we see this, but it was lofted. We had enough debris that was lofted up. As we look at this debris detector, that's a different portion of our radar that we're able to see debris being lofted up in the atmosphere. And not only did we see that, we just showed you the video. So we had confirmation not only from the radar from that, but also the fact that we had pictures and videos and emergency managers telling us this tornado was on the ground. What I can tell you now here at 10:02, things are quiet. Yes, it is raining everywhere, but it's been raining all day kind of. And this is not going to be severe. Our severe weather threat is over, but we continue to see a light to moderate rain. I do want to look at our severe threat for tomorrow. Once again, I know this is the last one of the next few days, but there is a category 2 of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center for half of us. And it has to do with the big picture being the fact that we have a cold front that's going to settle in. Now, that severe weather threat is different for some of us, and we'll talk about why not all of us will get storms, but it's something to pay attention to as we continue to track this. And finally, good news in sight.
Gary, thanks. We'll check back with you in a few minutes. Megan Kernan is live in DeSoto near where the tornado came through. She's been speaking with first responders in the area. Megan, what are you learning there tonight?
Yeah, that's right, Robert. We are an hour away from downtown St. Louis in Jefferson County, where the local emergency management confirmed that a tornado did touch down near us. Now, right now, we are in DeSoto off of Highway 21, where we are speaking to the fire chief of DeSoto Rural Fire District. What can you tell us?
We had a small tornado this evening that hit a path about 150 or so yards wide. Probably about a 7-mile stretch of it. There's 53 structures that we've identified in the path of that storm. Of that 53, 12 we have confirmed are significantly damaged or destroyed. No injuries. Then the rest of the damage is, of course, power lines and trees and things like that.
And now the damage to these homes, you mentioned earlier how this is a very rural area, so it might be difficult to even get to some of these homes for your crews, right?
Yeah, so our crews had to cut their way into some of the areas. The area that you're in, we're about 4 miles south of the city limits of DeSoto, again in rural Jefferson County, and most of the areas out here are farms or large tract properties. So, you know, they're not right on the side of the road like you would have in a more metropolitan area.
And a lot of the damage, are you seeing just on 2 streets?
2 areas, so yeah, 2 streets. The Big River Heights area is the most significant area of damage that we have, and pretty adjacent to that is where we believe it actually started. And then the Wilson Hollow area, which is directly next to where we're at here, also has some significant damage also. And then again, in between is more minor damage. We have a lot, it's a very hilly and rural area, so it likely is bouncing back and forth and changing on damage. The weather people will confirm all those things, I'm sure, tomorrow. So.
Has it been difficult at all to get all of your crews out, or are you mostly seeing just minor damage around besides the, homes that are substantial damage or destroyed?
Yeah, we didn't have any significant issues other than the initial of clearing some roads to actually get through. And obviously, it takes a little bit of time to do that because you're also trying to monitor power lines so we don't, electrocute ourselves while we're trying to do that. So Ameren's in the area. We had Highway Patrol here. We had the Park Ranger from the Washington State Park, which is only 2.5 miles from where we're at, participating. I had several mutual aid fire districts from our area in Jefferson County, and Potosi from Washington County here, and Valley Ambulance. Everybody comes together and away we go.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Well, what we know from that is no injuries, thankfully, and 12 structural damage to 12 buildings and homes that were either destroyed or have substantial damage. Now, we do know that the National Weather Service is sending a team down here sometime tomorrow to survey this damage. Of course, we will keep you updated once we learn more about this tornado. Live in Jefferson County, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
Thankfully, no injuries there again, Megan. Thank you. You can always get the latest weather updates sent straight to your phone. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355, and we will send you a link. Well, today, the St. Louis Urban League held another massive supply drive for families impacted by the May 16th tornado. Volunteers handed out food, toiletries, cleaning supplies, and other resources. Organizers say they handed out around $300,000 in supplies. Another drive like this one is expected to happen next week. Looking ahead, the Missouri National Guard is closing its storm debris collection sites tomorrow. Residents can still drop off any debris until 7 p.m. at Farragut Elementary, Marshall School, or Turner Middle School. The Guard will spend their last 2 days in the city cleaning the sites. People can still leave any remaining debris on the curb for city crews to pick up. Tonight, St. Louis police are investigating after 3 people were taken to a hospital with gunshot wounds. It happened near North 8th and O'Fallon Streets, that's north of downtown. Officers say a 23, 22, and an 18-year-old arrived at a hospital in different cars. All 3 are in critical but stable condition tonight. Police are still trying to figure out exactly what led to the triple shooting. Developing tonight, St. Louis police tell us they spiked more than 40 cars for reckless driving. They say this happened just after midnight near Manchester and Mitchell Avenues. The spiking was a part of the department's plan to crack down on stunt driving. Officers say the drivers were trying to get away from police. Nobody was arrested. Hundreds walk Tower Grove Park to save millions.
We need to find a cure. We need to do it together.
The massive movement supporting breast cancer research. Playing for a purpose.
I think it helps people.
See the musical mission raising money for tornado relief.
Our next severe weather threat is on the way. A slight risk for severe weather for many of us. Why that should be the end of severe weather and rain for a few days, and what's expected for your timing on Sunday.
Today, hundreds of people filled Tower Grove Park for the Susan G. Komen More Than Pink Walk. For decades, 5 on Your Side has been a proud sponsor in the fight to end breast cancer. Our own Mercedes McKay was the MC. She has more on the uplifting and empowering event.
In Tower Grove Park on Saturday morning, a crowd united for one reason.
We need to find a cure. We need to do it together.
The Susan G. Komen More Than Pink Walk brings hundreds together every year for a day centered around supporting breast cancer research and spreading awareness.
We need to put a spotlight on it, number one, because there are people that aren't even aware of what Komen is doing.
In its 42 years, Komen has single-handedly raised more than $1.1 billion for cancer research, not only raising funds, but supporting patients too.
They are more than pink. You know, it's not just about awareness, it's research, it's action, and we're here seeing it in action today.
5 on Your Side met one of the many warriors, Marilyn Geiger, who is currently living with metastatic breast cancer, a journey she's been on before, battling breast cancer back in 2007.
I'm getting treatment now. I do treatments all the time, and I want a cure for this cancer because I don't want to do treatments for the rest of my life.
While Marilyn walked for herself, Others walked in loved ones' memories.
We lost my mom back in April, and she's always wanted to do this walk, and so this is an opportunity to let her shine here today.
The St. Louis Cardinals have been proud sponsors since 2009, raising over $800,000 during that time.
Our community does so much for us. They come out and they cheer us on every day, and so for us to be able to give back into the community and give that support back, it's incredibly meaningful.
Meaning that stretches beyond the pink.
It's a sense of community for everyone that's here, opportunity to get resources, opportunity to get connected, and just to know that you're not in this fight alone.
Mercedes McKay, 5 on your side.
Well, it is all quiet outside right now after a tornado went through DeSoto and parts of southern Jefferson County. Quiet overnight, no severe weather. Can't reiterate that enough, but it is raining, and we're going to talk about a second round tomorrow afternoon. We'll time out those threats ahead.
Music has a way of healing, and in the wake of the devastating May 16th tornado, people are using their talent to help others find peace. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings shows us how some are turning their keys into comfort.
With every key, a string of care.
I think it helps people who are going through a mental state and helps soothe their mind.
17-year-old Ariel Gibson just started taking lessons at Pianos for People in South City, and she already knows about the healing power of music.
When I'm on my own and I just want to be by myself.
It's that kind of comfort the organization hopes to share this weekend with a play-a-thon for tornado relief. Students, teaching artists, even first-time players taking to the stage to perform. Whatever goes into this donation box by the stage is going directly to those impacted by the May 16th tornado. It's an extension of their everyday mission, teaching and reviving pianos to give back to the community.
Clean them and regulate them and everything, and then once they're ready, they go into their new homes. And most of the pianos go to people's homes in the St. Louis area, but we also, pianos go to institutions and community centers that are underfunded. Hopefully lift their spirits, encourage people to keep going, keep fighting that good fight.
3 weeks after that catastrophic storm, a simple message can be found outside the window. People need pianos, pianos need people.
It's that universal language that everybody can relate to.
A melody with a mission, raising money and spirits. Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Nice story. 100% of proceeds from today's playathon will go to Tabernacle Community Development Corporation in support of their Community Resource Center. Well, as we've seen, it's been a stormy Saturday night in parts of the bi-state. Meteorologist Gary Frank is here now with the very latest. Hey, Gary.
Yeah, good evening, Robert. First and foremost, I want to tell you that anybody that's just looking outside right now, it's quiet. It's raining, but this is not severe weather. If you're tuning in and you saw the headline about a tornado in DeSoto, we did indeed have a tornado near DeSoto. We're not seeing anything like that tonight. So first and foremost, we look at St. Charles, and yes, it's still raining, which is no surprise. It has not been warm today. But I want to track this entire area that created this whole thing. And this is what we were watching out and talking about yesterday specifically as we followed along and had these last 2 weather impact alert days. It's because we saw this system be around, and any time, especially after what happened the other day in Chesterfield, when maybe the ingredients weren't as good, even today, because it was raining, it was cool all day, we saw this spin here. And we followed a couple of these storms as they worked their way across some areas and just had rotated just enough to create some issues. That's where we had right now. And for now, from Chesterfield to Baldwin, right on 141 in Valley Park, or 141 in Manchester there, and to Pear, it's raining pretty hard. And, this is kind of not a warm day at all. Even as we go toward O'Fallon on the Illinois side, Centerville, East St. Louis, and Millstadt, we've got light to moderate rain. That continues at this hour, and I expect that it probably will for at least a little bit longer. And watch where this finally pushes out. I think by tomorrow morning, we're dry. Tomorrow it's going to warm up, but let's just follow along. After midnight, things I do think clear out. It just doesn't look like it right now. In fact, it may be a little foggy tomorrow morning as we start off with a few more clouds, temps in the low 60s. I did promise you another severe weather threat for tomorrow, and that's what we're looking at here. From Quincy all the way to Columbia, and honestly, in Oklahoma City, they're bordering on a very significant wind and severe weather threat as well. For us locally, I want to zoom in and show you hues in the slight risk versus marginal risk. The city and county, parts of the county, at least under the marginal risk, really Metro East, marginal risk. Missouri, slight risk. That's the best way to break it down. Don't split hairs over being right over the middle of the line. The key for us is I think there's some warm air above the surface that may limit development, but let's plan on between 3 to 9 o'clock. Wind gusts, brief tornado, and small hail, all possible tomorrow. I know it's not what we want to hear, but we want to prepare for it here, especially as we look at more of that westerly flow, which we continue to see these storm complexes aloft, like that one go our way. Now we're going to look at this one go to the south. We're finally going to see a cold front that pushes all this stuff out of the way. But as a result, as it arrives by tomorrow evening, we're going to see storms pop up around that. And as you can see, not all of them are just lining up, and that has to do with what spots maybe break that warm air cap. I think that's very important for us. Let's focus on the fact that we have the potential for high winds up to 60 miles an hour, hail up to quarter size, brief tornadoes, and even a flash flood risk possible on a very localized scale. The next 7 days, that's put us at our weather impact alert for tomorrow. As we continue to look at drier conditions the next few days, we're still looking at temps in the 80s, but it's not felt like June today, especially with the tornado and rain, and here we are.
A lot going on. We're not out of the woods just yet.
Doesn't seem like it.
Gary, thanks. Annie's you got all what's coming up next.
I
in
do,
sports?
Robert, but let's talk about it. We have coming up the Cardinals taking on one of the best powerhouses in the game for the second time this week. They won, and several local girls soccer teams get to take home some well-deserved hardware at state. That's all next in sports. It's hard to even call the Cardinals the David in an almost Goliath situation this afternoon against 2024 World Series champs, but with the Dodgers boasting victors like Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts in the lineup, you have to give them some extra props for taking the two-game series. It would start with Eric Fedde on the mound this afternoon, taking the lead from Sonny Gray last night, who helped the Redbirds win 5-0. Fedde living on the corners of the plate, striking out LA's Andy Pages, but the speed of Dodgers' Max Muncy got an extra bag in the second. It was a pitcher's game, though, with 2 goose eggs through 7. Then Alec Burleson at the plate hits the mound. He hits first base as Mason Wynn hits the gas in the 8th. Cards go up 1-0. 1 inning later, it's Pedro Pages with the sacrifice bunt. That's not much of a sacrifice, though. Runners end up on the corners. Then it is Mr. 10 Gold Gloves. Nolan Arenado hits a high fly ball to left. No one even tries to go underneath it. Cardinals end up winning in a walk-off 2-1. Here's how Saturday's hero felt only moments after when asked if there's something a little bit extra on the line when you're playing the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think so. I think fans, I think the fans really enjoy it. There's, this rivalry that's gone back to the playoffs and back in the day, it's pretty deep. Obviously, they got some stars over there that people want to watch, but I think we got a great team, man. We're not afraid of anybody.
And we had 4 local teams playing for state soccer titles today. A head-to-head matchup this afternoon as St. Joseph's Academy took on Fort Zumwalt South for the Class 3 championship. Even through a tough Bulldogs defense from the corner, St. Joe's Olivia Kaiser gets the first goal in the 23rd minute. Zumwalt would answer, though. Forward Alana Ward gets the breakaway, ends up going in the goal, ties it up 1-1 in the first. That's where it would stay until overtime when St. Joe's Maggie Drozda sneaks it in over the keeper. That is the last shot of the night at 25 yards out. St. Joe wins state against Zumwalt in overtime 2-1. And Clayton was fending for their own Class 2 state title tonight. The Greyhounds wasting no time as senior Anna McAndrew gets a lucky bounce going over the keeper, off the post, and eventually into the net just within the first 5 minutes. McAndrew is no stranger to the celebration as she scored the game-winning goal 2 years ago at state. A locked-in Clayton defense, though, is going to turn this corner kick into a game of ping-pong with nowhere to go. Greyhounds hold it off. They win 1-0. Their boys team, you'll remember, won the title this fall, making Clayton only the 5th school in state history to win a boys and a girls soccer championship in the same school year. And it's Christmas Eve when it comes to the Battlehawks playing in the XFL Conference Championship. Tomorrow's game at the Dome is the playoff premiere for QB superstar Max Duggan. He hasn't lost a game yet when he starts in the pocket. If Anthony Beckton is stacked roster best the DC Defenders starting at 5 p.m. Sunday, St. Louis will be having an extended staycation as the city also hosts the Super Bowl of the league, the UFL Championship. That's going to be on June 14th. If history is any indication, the Battlehawks should be flying high tonight considering they beat DC last Friday in the ultimately low-scoring 13 to 8 matchup. And if anyone is itching for some college basketball, they will be happy to hear St. Louis University women's team has started their summer sessions. I caught up with the head coach, Rebecca Tillett, and sophomore Hannah Wallace while they were volunteering in the Central West End, putting together care packages for tornado survivors. After falling to George Mason University in the A-10 championship last year, Wallace, a Cardinal Ritter grad, said she's taking life's toughest lessons in stride.
For me, my first year was definitely a learning experience. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the game and just fell in love with it all over again. So I would think just honing in on the process, making sure I'm doing all the small things, all the tedious things to help me be successful in the long run.
Our first 2 years here obviously ended in championships. Last year we fell short of our goals, yet we were still in the hunt, in the run for what we were trying to do. I think this team's really determined to learn the lessons from last season, remember the successes of the past, and build on that for the future.
And City SC has their game against Portland tomorrow at 6 p.m. It's going to be follow-up after they won their first game since March regular season game. So some good momentum in that locker room right now.
Good for them. Annie, thanks. How about a final look at the weather?
Quieter overnight as we continue to look at that tornado that moved through DeSoto. And that's something the team will continue to follow here as we head into daylight hours tomorrow. We can see that a little bit better, but this was right after 7 o'clock as we saw that last night. Quiet here overnight, more rain, but that's what we're mainly focusing on here as we look outside. Things are getting better. No severe weather overnight. I know a lot of people anxious heading into the overnight hours. Things are going to be much more quiet. In that regard, we'll track another round of potential storms tomorrow afternoon.
All right, Gary, thanks a lot for the very latest. That's 5 on your side at 10. Saturday Night Live is coming your way next. Start your day with Today in St. Louis, beginning at 6 a.m. Have a great tomorrow, everyone.